you are a born one.
So you treat it as a gift.
Gift. Big gift. I stretched my hand before Parasakti for a mouthful of rice. And she dropped in my hands a pot of nectar. I would say, I didn't know how to handle that. Yes, I was too naive, too immature, too inexperienced to handle it. Today I'm fine.
There was a time in your life, and we talked about it over coffee also the other day, when you went through, in the early stages, a period of unemployment,
Yes.
Rejection,
Yes.
because countless applications for jobs did not yield results.
Yes.
It must have been pretty painful, traumatic to handle all of that.
Yes.
So I wanted to ask, and I think in terms of timeline, we're talking about 73 to 77, somewhere in that
Yes.
range, right?
You are right.
So, அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு ஃபேஸ்ல பெயின் was unavoidable, right?
Yes.
When you, it hurts when you are rejected. அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு சூழ்நிலையில did you continue to express yourself through poetry?
Of course.
அப்போ inspiration எப்படி இருந்தது உங்களுக்கு?
அப்போ எனக்கு I said 17 years I remember the moonlight, the dark night. எங்கள் வீட்டுக்கு எதிர there was nothing much, it was an open space. அப்போ this poetry happened. Then I was gripped by Bharatiyar when I was 17. Even earlier I could say, but can I express myself freely?
Surely, sure.
I felt that his consciousness was, almost superimposed on mine. Kind of trance or whatever it is, something like the same time. The fervor of devotion to Kali, Parasakti in general, Kali in particular also. So overnight, I became fiery. I became a very ardent worshipper of Kali. That is how that journey started.
Oh, okay. So, ஒரு பக்கத்துல you were going through the trauma of being rejected.
Yeah. When it was, say I went through one hell after another. So I can even name hells. They come in packs. At that time, if this poetry was not there, this inspiration from Bharati and Parasakti were not there, I would have collapsed. I won't be here. You name any humiliation which you cannot imagine. I went through all that in my life, in my early stage. Today I'm immensely thankful to Parasakti for that. No, at that time, poetry continued to happen. It had no relevance to my situation.
Oh, it had no relevance. Okay.
So the lesson I draw today from that is that your happiness has no bearing on your external circumstances. You can be happy if you want to be so. So my poetry, it was there, and my growth as a human being, it was there. They were parallel. Today they merged.
They merged. Beautiful. I'm picking up a very beautiful word here. He said Bharatiyar gripped him. Now, many times in life, when we are clutching at the straws, when we are not knowing what's happening to us, we also experience these moments of the unseen hand, the presence of somebody coming and engulfing us, embracing us. Some people soak in its light, like Ramanan did.
Yes.
Some people are not able to kind of pick it up, connect with it, because they're struggling with the other side, which is the challenges of the moment, and so they miss it. But எல்லார் வாழ்க்கையிலும் இது இருக்கு. So it's not as if the trance happens to one person or to somebody specific or somebody sat under a bodhi tree. அப்படி கிடையாது. I think it's an invitation from the universe that I'm there, I'll take care of you. That's the way I see it.
Grace is always there.
Absolutely.
But grace is a process. You must learn how to tap it. And how do you tap it? Your passivity to the outer world activates grace. It's all good.
Thank you. Again, you have simplified something which appears so complex. When you use the word grace, it's not something that you can touch, you can feel, but then you say
It's a process.
It's a process.
Yeah.
It's a process. It's a process. So let me ask you, when you look back at that phase now, that phase would have taught you resilience.
Yes.
It would have taught you how to deal with pain, how to deal with rejection, all of that. If you were to look at the audience and talk about lasting a dark phase, when and everyone goes through their own crisis. So what would be one perspective that you would like to share with them by way of coping with a difficult phase, a dark phase in life?
See, one thing we have to learn is when you are on a travel through a desert, it could even be a picnic, and there is a sandstorm. The storm doesn't care whether you are Bill Gates or a servant. Everyone has to do only one thing: lie on your belly, cover yourself till the storm blows over. Is there any choice? Now, what is the idea of fretting and fuming about what is happening? And what is so different? There are many people who suffer. At any point of time in your life, we have 100 reasons to be grateful to God. There are 130 million people in this world who have food only once a day. So we have no reason to complain. But when it happened at that time, I did not have this knowledge. It
That's
hurt.
why, in hindsight.
It hurt me.
Yeah.
It disturbed me greatly. But that is the process. Slowly you pick up, you learn. பட்ட காயங்கள் படும்போது வலித்தாலும் இன்று தொட்டு தடவினால் தழும்பெல்லாம் இனிக்கும். Something like learning your bicycle. If somebody says that he has never fallen, then be sure that he doesn't ride a bicycle.
So one is gratitude, two is surrendering to the moment,
Yes.
right, and going with the flow. So you basically explain the practical side of it.
Yes.
Right.
See, there is nothing unusual about our so-called suffering. That's what we should understand. That is the perspective we should learn. When it happens to us, it appears to be very big, very painful. Oh, much more painful things are happening to millions of our people. Other perspective.
Beautiful. I can relate to what he's saying, because today when somebody asks me, what's the one, is there a regret you have, Avis? When people ask me, I actually have no regrets. But to answer the question, I say, yeah, the bankruptcy or 10 வருஷம் முன்னாடி நடந்ததுன்னா I would have been a more evolved person 10 years ago. I mean, when we shared with Ramanan our story, see, we knew Ramanan, but he didn't know us. And in one line, Vani and I told him that we are going through a very difficult phase, challenging phase. In the coffee meeting, great, his response was. And that amplifies the point that he just made. So, thank you.
History is not sequential. Maybe it is consequential. My master used to say that.
So let's move on, and so there was that phase of unemployment and hardship, and then you go and work with the Hindu for 27 years,
Yes.
27 long years. You rise in the ranks, you go on to lead a branch. Parallelly, on the other side, Anu and you get married, you raise a family. For a person, when you're speaking now, and I compare you with that man who must have been raising a family, working a 9 to 5 kind of job, trying to be put in a framework, a social framework, corporate framework. My question to you is, wasn't there a conflict between who you were while being a family man or being a corporate warrior and your creative side? Was there a conflict? Did the creative process suffer during that phase? Was it put away on the back burner during that phase? How did you manage the two?
Yeah, I won't call it a conflict, because apart from being a poet and a seeker, there was another boon I was blessed with: joy of work. I realized very soon that it's not money or talents or sort of virudigal, but all these things they don't make you great or big. If you have found joy in work, and if you work physically also, that is dignity. So that was obvious. I slogged like mad while I was with the Hindu. No other person in my cadre would have done what I have done. I used to load parcels. I used to carry parcels. I have distributed paper. Can you imagine? I know how many dogs are there in every street. And dogs never loved newspapermen, I can tell you. So that is how. So conflict was not there because the joy of work was always there. But it was what was difficult for me was this material engineering. I was not cut out for that. Nor is my wife. But we clicked. So that, and I'm very good at managing somebody else's business. So Hindu was very happy with me. So,
during that phase, did you also continue writing poetry?
Yeah.
So how would you divide your work between your
See, there were two phases in the Hindu for me. One was travel. I loved travel. Meeting, seeing new places, seeing new faces, eating new kind of food, and visiting temples, historic places. And travel is the biggest trigger for your creative activity. And you travel alone as a sales representative. In some bus you will be traveling. And after Gandhi, I think I have walked quite a lot from village to village for the Hindu. So everywhere you go, it is full of messages. That is the beauty of divinity. It's full of beautiful messages.